This presentation, Pelvic Loading, the Pitcher's Rotational Engine, was presented by Brent Strom, who at that time was the pitching coordinator for the Washington Nationals Major League Baseball team, and who is now the Major League pitching coach for the Houston Astros. Originally, this was in a ebook form where you would scroll through the pages with no audio, no commentary, no audio commentary. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to scroll through this, but I'm going to add my commentary, which I hopefully will make it more informative and interesting. Go back a little bit. System is okay. What is pelvic loading? Technically, I'll read this. Technically, pelvic loading is a combination of posture and eccentric lengthening of the muscle and concentric shortening of the muscle. Actions centered around and including the pelvis. These postures, muscular actions, create, transfer, and transform momentum from what might be termed the core of the body to the baseball itself. It is also important to understand that integral to the pelvic loading process is what we might call pelvic unloading. Pelvic loading is the first cousin to scapular loading. Scapular loading combined with pelvic loading is vital to maximizing place throwing capabilities. And these are my comments. Brent had put Paul Nyman, Sepros throwing engineer. This is an interesting clip. I always like this clip. This is Walter Johnson, Big Train, and it's believed that he threw as hard, if not harder, than most major league pitchers do today. He was a big person, and if you look closely, specifically, look at his hips. He is a classic example of a pelvic loader, and which I'll explain in the next couple of clips. Now, this is might be considered kind of a funky animation. What I'm doing here is focusing in, showing the pelvic area, and then stripping away the flesh, and actually showing you the skeletal portion of the body. And what I'm trying to show here is these are the ranges of motion that the pelvis area, and I'll emphasize area, is responsible for. Forward, backward, side to side, rotation. A lot of people, too many people today, still think that rotation is achieved by the legs, feet. It's not. It's the pelvic area that creates rotation, at least proper rotation. Pushing off the rubber is a classic defect or artifact of people thinking that the feet, legs, whether it's throwing or swinging, are responsible for rotation or maximizing the body's rotation. And what I'm showing here is that all of these motions that you're seeing are all really originated by the region of the pelvis, and trying to emphasize that the pelvis is really the center of the rotational universe. This is just a statement, summarizing what I just said. The animation demonstrates the primary body movements that the pelvis either controls or influences because of the muscles that attach to and or span the pelvic region. Also important to understand the movement is developed around the body center of gravity, which for the most part is located just above the belly button within the body. Therefore, the pelvic area becomes the reference point for movement with respect to the processing and interpretation of proprioceptive information. Stated differently, all bodily movements are essentially reference to the pelvic area, i.e. the body center of mass. This is important. When they talk about keeping, way back, I guess not so much olden days, and I think probably too many people still subscribe to it, keeping the head online, chin online, that's not what we want to keep online. What we want to keep online is center of mass, because the center of mass is really what controls our balance, or where our balance originates from, or center of gravity. So this again emphasizes why the pelvic area is such an important area in terms of understanding it. Another good, what I call pelvic loader and unloader, rapid Robert Feller. And again, if you look closely at what is happening, basically he's demonstrating what I call the step over move, which is crucial, and I will go someday in the near future, I'll talk much more about, but it's created by the pelvic area. This is what I have called the pelvic loading move. And basically what you're doing is you're gathering the uh, pelvic area, primarily the lead thigh, lead leg, and you're basically trying to work it against the back area. What you're doing is you're creating tension in the pelvic area. So this is the pelvic move. Too many people, what they do is they lift the leg out and they just go out straight with it. They don't load. They don't understand about loading the pelvic area. The pelvic area incorporates principles of flat beg, which is translational. Again, way back when I created this model of throwing, which consisted of three components: flat bed, which was translational, movement from the pitching mound toward the batter; Ferris wheel, which is basically the upper body going from front to back. In other words, it's the upper body translating from going back like you see now to going forward, which you don't see. So Ferris wheel is this motion. Merry-go-round is the rotation around the pelvis, this rotation. So what we have is translation, we have Ferris wheel, and we have Ferris wheel, and we have rotation. Another good pelvic loader. Again, so what it demonstrates what we call a step over move. What you want to do is you want to keep load up here and then unload it. Too many people just straight out. There's no aggressiveness. They take too long. They bleed all the energy away, and then they put all the pressure, all the responsibility for throwing the baseball to the upper body, and really don't gather anything or minimize the amount of benefit that they get from the lower body, the pelvic area. This is what I call a non-pelvic loader. This is classic. You can see here, if you compared him to Cologne, basically just lifting the knee and striding straight out. Again, Mark Pryor has been used by some people as the poster boy for everything and anything evil that Sepro has talked about, such as scapuloading. The problem with Pryor wasn't his elbow, was his shoulder. And again, what I would speculate, and again, you can't prove this stuff, that one of the things is that he didn't do as good a job of getting, he was a big body, he didn't get as good a job of getting efficiency out of the lower body, and therefore put more stress on the upper body. This concludes the introductory portion of the pelvic loading presentation. Hopefully it gives you a little bit better idea as to what pelvic loading is about, and also, and this is what I really want you to take, the importance of pelvic loading. Pelvic loading is crucial to developing. It has to do with the summation of speed principle, has to do with transfer of momentum, has to do with control in terms of keeping the body controlled, center of gravity, so on and so forth. Pelvis is very important. Pelvic loading, I believe, is very important. Thank you.